Now, it's been a long time since the racial background of footballers here in England was the subject of controversy. Most teams are now highly diverse, with players from all over the world. But new research looking at every player in English football's top 4 professional leagues suggests the ethnic background of a footballer does have a bearing on the position they play in the team. Have a look at this standard lineup of an 11-player team. A study found that footballers of a darker skin tone are more likely to occupy peripheral positions traditionally associated with athleticism and strength, like forward or winger. Teammates of a lighter skin tone are more likely, it's thought, to fill central positions conventionally considered to need organisational skills and creativity. Well, we wanted to find out more about this study, and I'm pleased to say that joining me from our Essex studio is Dr. John Mills, lead researcher of the study, which analysed data, John, from 4,500 players. This had to be a really big sample, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Thanks for having me. So the previous research that had looked at this area had primarily used a sample of 400 or so players, whereas we're the first study to use population level data of every player, as you mentioned, across the 4 professional leagues over that 5-year period between 2010 through to 2015.
And when you were looking at skin tone, you were a little more subtle than black and white.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the previous research relied on phoning up the various football clubs' press officers and asking them to basically create this binary distinction between a black and a white athlete, which we all know that it's not as simple as that. People's skin tones change depending on the time of year, and there's obviously a lot of variation in terms of skin tone as well. So we've tried to cover that as best as we can, whilst also trying to collect these big numbers at the same time.
And given that complexity, that subtlety, are you confident that you can say there's a positional disparity here between the outside players, as it were, and those in the centre and forward?
The previous research had primarily said that black players fulfil peripheral playing positions, whereas white players central. Our research has demonstrated that, although technically that's still the case in terms of the total number of people that play in each of these positions based on the tone of their skin, we've actually found it's a bit more nuanced than that, in the sense that there's a great deal of variation in skin tone in certain central positions, such as striker, such as defensive midfielder, for example, but there isn't very much variation in terms of positions such as the goalkeeper or the attacking midfield. Those positions tend to primarily be almost exclusive for lighter skin tone players.
And when you're looking at positions like goalkeeper, in what ways do you account for this disparity? Are you looking at some